My name is Tessa Whittaker, and I'm 32. Competence in my home doesn't brag. It keeps the dishwasher on off-peak at 12:00 a.m., warms the lamps a breath before dusk, and threads a soft green square across my budget like a seam you can't see from the front of the dress. People mistake that quiet for softness. Nets are quiet too, until someone falls. Caleb calls the net a buzzkill. He said it with a grin the day he set a moving box on my rug. My deed, my timers, my rules. He liked that he could count on me. He didn't like discovering what that actually meant. 3 Tuesdays ago, after dinner, he dried a plate and cleared his throat, the way people do when they're about to say something unkind but want credit for being calm. "We need to talk about our sex life," he said. "Okay," I said, folding a dish towel the way my grandmother taught me. "Square corners, no fuss." "You're not adventurous," he said, tasting the syllables like they were medicine. "It's getting old." There was a tiny thrill in my ribs, not from the insult, but from what it confirmed about him. He was rehearsed. Not spontaneous, not frustrated. Rehearsed. Preparing his alibi for the jury of friends and future relatives. "It is getting old," I agreed. Caleb blinked. He was ready for tears, or outrage, or a PowerPoint titled, "Why You're Wrong About Me." He was not ready for agreement. "So, you'll try harder?" he asked, hopeful as a teenager asking for gas money. "Yeah," I said, "I'll try harder." He kissed my cheek as if that settled the account and padded into the living room to watch something loud and forgettable. I stacked the plates. I closed a cabinet. I went to my office, opened my laptop, and watched our life drop into cells and dates. See, Caleb didn't know that 3 weeks earlier, the net had already caught something. It was stupid and ordinary. He was at my place, fell asleep after his 6th beer, face down on the couch with his phone on his chest. I don't peek. I don't snoop. I make lists. But the phone buzzed, and the preview was a single letter and a sentence I wasn't supposed to see. L. Can't stop thinking about last night. You do things to me Tessa never could. L. Not an initial we shared. Not his sister. Not a colleague in a group thread. Lydia. My Lydia. The girl who split cafeteria fries with me when we were 14, who cried on my dorm floor senior year, who co-signed paperwork with me when we bought our first tiny rental as a real estate LLC, because banks like 2 names better than 1. That Lydia. I did the thing people say they'd never do. I used knowledge I wasn't supposed to have. Years ago, Lydia and I had exchanged passcodes for emergencies. If I get stranded, if I lose my phone. I typed it in with shaking thumbs and found 6 months of evidence. Screenshots, photos, voice notes, arrangements in hotels I'd driven past, menus I recognized, the kind of choreography you can't perform without practice. Words she once called gross when I wondered aloud if we might try them, words she now typed back to my boyfriend with exclamation points, and the ungenerous certainty of someone who had already decided I would forgive her. "After the wedding, we can be more open," Lydia had written. "She works late. She won't notice." Caleb. Feel bad for her, but God, you're worth it. I saved everything. Every timestamp, every thread. I didn't confront them. I didn't scream. I watched my hands become steady and my breath become slow, the way it does when I glue a delicate joint that will fail if I rush by a single heartbeat. Nets are quiet. Miscalculations are loud. Tonight, when Caleb said adventurous, I heard the echo from Lydia's messages. You do things to me she never could. And all at once, adventurous wasn't a request. It was an excuse, something he could point to when the story broke, when the version of me he'd practiced in his head needed to be held up to the light and found wanting. I opened a new document, titled it Itinerary, and began. Wedding. 5 weeks out. Deposits paid. Non-refundable clauses highlighted. I pulled up Diana's contact, the planner who calls everyone love while she sets small fires under vendors who miss deadlines. I wrote a script that included the words cancel, all of it, and I'll handle guest notifications. Home. The condo is mine. Deed pre-Caleb. Mortgage paid by me. He moved into my place, spoke of it as ours. I texted a realtor friend and asked for a private listing and for a short-term rental starting Saturday. Something clean, quiet, near the river. A place that didn't hold his shape in the couch cushions. LLC. The rentals Lydia and I co-own. 2 properties, modest but stable. Disentangling friends from contracts is harder than extracting a nail from dry wood. You never do it without leaving a mark. Still, there are clauses for deadlock. There are levers you can pull if you don't mind the noise. Screenshots. I built a folder tree. Family, his, family, hers, vendors, work, legal. I wasn't sure which I'd use yet. I only knew that the existence of choices is its own kind of power. In the living room, canned laughter rose and fell on the TV. Caleb messaged someone with rapid thumbs. The tiny tap sounded like rain. I added printer. Order 150 cards to my itinerary and wrote the copy. Cool, tidy, unflinching. I didn't know who would open them first. I hoped it would be someone who loved him enough to worry about the right things. On Thursday, while Caleb planned a bachelor weekend with his friends, I took half a day off and packed the things he wouldn't notice missing. Birth certificate, passport, the red folder with property deeds, and the original LLC operating agreement. The cork box with my grandmother's ring I never wear because it catches on sweaters. I labeled everything with blue painter's tape because sticky notes can fall off if the air vents cough. I scheduled a locksmith for the following afternoon. That night, he came home buzzed on approval and IPA. Megan's planning something wild for the bachelorette, he said about my sister, but you'll probably call it unsafe or impractical. I like safe, I said. That's the problem, he said, not unkindly. You like knowing how everything ends. I like knowing who I'm with when we get there, I said, almost gently. He didn't hear the line, or pretended not to. He slid under the covers like a kid diving under a blanket fort. He slept. I watched the ceiling and considered the shape of mercy. Friday morning, I waited until he left. I watched the elevator numbers blink down to the lobby. I made tea. I opened email. First was Lydia. Subject, LLC adjustments. Body. Hey, can we talk about shifting timelines? I'm juggling a few things through June. I stared at her words, juggling a few things, and laughed, an ugly little sound that ricocheted off the cabinets. Then I forwarded the dissolution paperwork my lawyer drafted at my request the night before. I attached one screenshot, not the explicit ones, not the ones that would blow through her life like a storm, just enough to name the thing plainly, Lydia, in my best friend font, telling my boyfriend that after the wedding, my late nights would be permission for theirs. A minute later, my phone lit up. Caleb, Tess, can we talk? Lydia, please don't do this. We can explain. Explain what? Angles and schedules? The choreography of a betrayal that required the quiet of my habits to thrive? I wrote back to no one. I closed my eyes and listened to the dishwasher hum like a secret. I thought about the cards already at the printer, the envelope liner that matched our would-have-been invitations. I thought about my father, steady, old school, who would read whatever arrived with the gravity of a verdict. My hands didn't shake. I opened another email window, addressed it to Diana, and typed, Hi, love. I need to cancel. All of it. Please initiate whatever's necessary. Don't notify the guests. I'll handle that part. I pressed send. Outside, the city sounded the way it always does. Buses, dogs, a siren too far away to matter. Inside, a breath lengthened. Somewhere between what Caleb wanted and what Lydia took, there was a woman who kept the lights on and the bills paid and the floors swept. She had a net. She built it herself. And tonight, when the falling started, she intended to be very, very quiet. Diana called me back in under 4 minutes. Love, is this a wobble or a wall? A wall, I said. She exhaled like a match going out. 5 weeks to go. We can claw back maybe 20% if we're lucky. Most deposits are hard inside 45 days. Are you sure you want to cancel instead of postpone? Cancel, I said. All of it. I'll handle the guests. Understood. Papers shuffled. I'll send a cancellation matrix, what's refundable, what's not, and who needs signatures. I'll keep it discreet. Thank you. Don't thank me, she said, voice softening. Just don't second-guess yourself. The cost is not the point. The point is not paying twice. I hung up and stared at the backsplash, counting grout lines, until my breathing walked itself down a flight of stairs. Then I opened the document she promised and began turning nouns into check marks. Venue, deposit gone. Catering, 30% back if we release today. Band, non-refundable, but willing to credit a future booking if I sign within a year. I didn't want a band, a credit, or a future booking. I wanted my floors to stop feeling like a stage. At 10:12 a.m., I called Asha, my realtor friend. I need a private listing, I said. No MLS. Whisper showings only, and I need a short-term rental starting tomorrow. Asha didn't ask why. 1 bedroom by the river, quiet building, furnished, she said, typing. Month to month for 3 months while we test the market on the condo. You'll get better offers if we pair scarcity with silence. Scarcity and silence, I repeated. Sounds like a perfume. Or a threat, Asha said, cheerful. Emailing the lease. The printer sang. I initialed where it told me. When I signed the last page, my name looked like it belonged to a woman making a decision she would not unmake. Next, the LLC. The operating agreement sat in my red folder, its language dry as chalk. Buy-sell provisions. Dissolution triggers. Deadlock mechanisms. Years ago, Lydia and I had called it our grown-up project. Something that made the bank take us seriously when we were 27, and the loan officer kept asking to speak to our husbands who did not exist. I found the clause I'd flagged last night. Section 8.3, optional dissolution in the event of irreconcilable conflict. It required notice, a proposed timetable, and an offer to purchase or sell at a set valuation. It also required signatures. I called Marin, my attorney, who is unflappable in emergencies and allergic to italics in contracts. Can we force a sale? I asked. You can trigger it, she said. If Lydia stalls, you file for partition and let a judge bless the inevitable. She won't like the fees. Draft the notice, I said. Timetable, 60 days to close. I'm offering fair market, attached comps. No discounts for friendship. That's the right sentence, Marin said. I'll courier originals to both of you by end of day. When I hung up, I felt the peculiar calm that follows a siren once you realize it's moving away from you. It wasn't joy. It was relief braided with something harder. Lydia had texted twice more. Let's not be dramatic, and we can fix this if you'll just talk to me first. I didn't answer. Some words only repeat the harm they claim to heal. At noon, Raphael from the print shop called. Your cards are ready, he said. You're sure you want the script in black on ivory? It's restrained. Restrained is the point, I said. And please, no logo sticker on the back. Plain envelopes, self-seal. Copy that, he said. Then, hesitating, the line about tests. You're certain? Yes, I said. Spell check again. We regret to inform, not regret to advise. People mix those up. Got it, he said, a smile in his voice that I couldn't read. He didn't know the story, only the grammar of an ending. By 2 o'clock, I had 3 piles on the dining table. Wedding cancellations, LLC dissolution, move logistics. I labeled a 4th folder contingencies and slid inside a clean copy of the screenshots index, without the images, name, date, and thread counts only. Evidence, summarized, like a weather report that tells you what to wear without showing the storm. Caleb texted at 2:40, going to watch the game at Ryan's. Back late. Love you. I stared at the last 2 words and thought of the first time he'd said them. Blurred mouth after a county fair, ticket still warm in my pocket. I had believed him. Belief is not a failing. It is a door you choose to leave unlocked because you live in a world where someone knocks before they come in. At 4, the locksmith arrived. He was efficient and gentle with the hardware, like a violin tech changing pegs. New keys, he said, handing me 2. You want to add a smart keypad? Not yet, I said. I'll let you know. When the door clicked behind him, the apartment sounded different. Emptier, as if the air were practicing leaving. I packed the kitchen like triage. My knives, my coffee grinder, the enamel pot my mother mailed when I got my first job and my first flu. I left the decorative barware Caleb swore he'd use and never did. At dusk, I took a car to the print shop. Raphael slid the box across the counter like contraband. The cards were exactly as I'd ordered. Tasteful, merciless. I bought 2 sheets of stamps, even though most would go in a courier bag addressed to Patricia and Megan, Caleb's mother and sister, because someone had to open them in a house where people still believed in good linens and the courtesy of RSVP. When I got home, I wrote the addresses in my even hand. I did not shake. I did not drink. I did not play a song to make the moment feel cinematic. I breathed. I sealed. I stacked. Someone once told me that revenge is indulgence and justice is permission. I didn't know which name to give what I was doing. I only knew I would not be the woman who found out too late and sent thank you notes anyway. Night smudged the windows. Caleb texted again. Staying at Ryan's. Don't wait up. which was code for Lydia. My phone lit with her name. 2 minutes later. I turned it face down and switched on Do Not Disturb. At 7:30, the courier took the first bag of cards and the LLC packet. "Sign here," he said. And I did, adding a tip so generous he glanced up in surprise. "Big night?" he asked. "Big enough," I said. I set an alarm for 8:45 a.m. to call the venue and the caterer one more time. Respect matters even when you're closing doors. I set another for 9 to check with Marin. I made a last pass through drawers and pulled out the frame photo of Lydia and me at 20. Freckles, sunburn, that summer's blunt haircuts. I slid it into a folder labeled Archive and did not let myself look longer than a second. The short-term lease pinged as signed and countersigned. Asha texted, "Keys with the doorman after 10 a.m. tomorrow. You have a river view and a quiet neighbor who bakes bread at inconvenient hours." "Perfect," I wrote back. The house held still. Somewhere below, a dog barked at a skateboard and forgave it. I made chamomile and sat at the table like it was a witness stand. The dishwasher whispered itself alive at 12:01 a.m., on cue, as if to say, some things keep their promises. In the morning, I'd move documents to the new place, then close, then whatever would not remind me of Caleb's weight in the mattress. I'd call Diana and say yes to every non-refundable line item, like a woman lighting votive candles for a ritual she no longer believes in. I would not text my sister Megan, my Megan, not his, until the cards were out and the paperwork was in motion. If you tell people too early, they try to save you with questions. If you wait until the ink dries, they bring casseroles. I rinsed the cup, stacked it upside down to dry, and turned off the kitchen light. Across the room, the box of cards sat like a small, white animal, waiting to be let out. Beyond them, on the counter, the red folder shone a stern little rectangle. At 8:46 a.m., I began the calls. The venue manager was brisk but kind, her voice the professional sorrow of someone accustomed to plans ending. "Email me the written notice," she said. "We'll process today." The caterer offered condolences and a list of salvaged produce allocations. I pictured bouquets of herbs going somewhere else to be loved. The band sent a line that ended with, "We hope to play for you in happier circumstances." I removed their email from my starred list and moved it to done. At 9:11, Marin texted, "Packets delivered. Lydia signed for hers at 9:06. Caleb's out. His mother accepted." At 9:12, the lobby intercom buzzed. It startled me hard enough that I tapped the phone to airplane mode by mistake. "This is the front desk," the doorman said when I answered. "A delivery for Ms. Whitaker, and a Ms. Palmer is here asking to be let up. Lydia, early, uninvited." My pulse didn't jump. It irritated, like a mosquito you refuse to slap because you'll smear it on your own skin. "Please send up the delivery," I said. "Ms. Palmer will need to wait downstairs." "She's insistent," he said, apologetic. "Says it's urgent." "I'm sure she does," I said. "But no." "A beat. Understood." I ended the call and stood very still. The elevator hummed its way up, dutiful, untroubled. In the hall, footsteps. A knock. The outline of a courier envelope slid under my door. I stared at the slot where air leaks in winter and thought, today has a hinge. On one side was the life I'd organized like a ledger. On the other was a story I had not chosen but would finish. I picked up the envelope, LLC, Notice of Dissolution, countersigned, and placed it on the table beside the stack of address cards. Downstairs, a woman who used to be my emergency contact was arguing with a polite man about elevator access. Upstairs, I set my phone face up on the table, watched Caleb's name bloom across the screen, and let it ring. The first ring came at 9:28 a.m. Sharp. Caleb. I let it buzz itself hoarse. The silence afterward felt like a held breath in an exam hall. 10 seconds later came Lydia's text. "Please, Tessa, don't do this. We can talk. You're not thinking straight." I was thinking straighter than I had in months. I brewed coffee, poured it into the travel mug with the faint crack down the side, and sat by the window. Across the street, a delivery truck hissed to a stop. The driver unloaded boxes labeled fragile. Appropriate, I thought. By 10, Marin emailed, "All parties served. Dissolution effective upon 30-day review." I replied with 2 words, "Proceed quietly." Then I opened a new message, addressed to Caleb, and wrote only, "Subject, LLC papers. Check your email." Body, "We need to talk about Lydia." Attached was the single screenshot, Lydia's message about after the wedding, and She won't notice. No commentary, no punctuation outside what they had typed themselves. The response came in under a minute. What is this? Where did you get it? We can explain. No need, I typed. Sign the dissolution papers, or I'll send the rest. Tessa, this is blackmail. Call it administration, you have until noon. I didn't hit send on impulse, I hit it like a gavel. While Caleb was spinning in place, I opened the folder marked Family, his. Inside were pre-written drafts, one to Patricia Whitaker, his mother, and one to Megan Lang, his sister. The subject line read, Thought you should know before the wedding. The attachments? 10 screenshots. Tastefully chosen, nothing explicit, but enough to reveal betrayal wrapped in everyday phrases. Lydia calling Caleb the only real man I've had in years. Caleb replying, Tessa's sweet, but boring. It was the tone, not the content, that burned. The casual cruelty. I hit send on Patricia's first, then Megan's. Before the guilt could bloom, I opened the third folder. Family, hers. For Evan, Lydia's boyfriend. The message was short. Hey, Evan. You deserve the truth. Attached. 6 months of messages between Lydia and my fiancé. Thought you'd want to know before your trip next week. Attach, send. At 11:02, my phone lit like a Christmas tree. Patricia, what have you done? Megan, oh my God, is this real? Caleb, pick up the phone, Tessa. Lydia, I'm begging you, please stop. Evan, thank you, I had no idea. By 11:30, the calls became a cascade. I set the phone face down again. Watched it vibrate itself to exhaustion. At 11:47, I stepped outside to mail the remaining stack, the official cancellation cards, ivory envelopes, black serif font, no flourish, just precision. We regret to inform you that the wedding of Tessa Whitaker and Caleb Price has been canceled due to the groom's infidelity. No gifts necessary, but STD testing is encouraged for anyone who's been intimate with either the groom or Lydia Palmer recently. We apologize for any inconvenience. The postal worker took the box without comment, only nodded at my signature. I walked home lighter. At 12:09, Caleb called again. I answered this time. Are you out of your mind? His voice cracked, half fury, half fear. Not at all, I said. Everything's documented. You should sign the LLC papers. Tessa, please, we can fix this. It was a mistake. 6 months of mistakes? He went silent. I could hear traffic through his window. I love you, he said finally. You loved convenience, I said. Now it's inconvenient. Click. At 12:27, Megan called, breathless. He told Mom you forged those screenshots. Ask Lydia, I said. She's not answering. Mom's having a meltdown. Then maybe it's time she saw who he really is. A pause. You know she opened the invitations already? What invitations? The ones you had printed. She thought they were thank you notes. My breath stilled. And she fainted, like full-on collapse in the foyer. They called 911. She's fine now, but Tess, she called him a harlot. Who even uses that word? I didn't mean to laugh, but it escaped, a sharp, small sound. Good to know vocabulary's alive and well. Megan didn't laugh back. You scorched the earth, Tess. You realize that? Yes, I said. That's where new things grow. By 1:00, word had spread through Caleb's family like a controlled burn that wasn't controlled. A cousin posted vague status updates. Betrayal hurts most when it's wearing a tux. Friends texted condolences that doubled as gossip. At 2:15, Lydia's name popped up again. This time, she sent a voicemail. I let it play. Tess, I don't even know where to start. Caleb said you're trying to destroy us. That's not you. Please, let's meet. This doesn't have to be public. But it already was. At 3:00, Asha texted from the condo. Move team ready tomorrow morning. Keys waiting. You okay? Better than okay, I typed. I'm prepared. That evening, my sister Megan called again. Not his Megan, mine. Dad saw the post, she said. He asked if you were sure. I'm sure, I said. He said he's proud of you for not hiding. Also, he wants his stamp collection back, you thief. That time, I did laugh. Tell him I'll trade it for emotional closure. By nightfall, the net had closed. Lydia went silent online, private accounts, deleted photos. Caleb's workplace Slack leaked whispers. Inappropriate conduct. HR meetings scheduled. At 6:42 p.m., I watched through my doorbell camera as Caleb pounded on my old condo door. His face, bewildered, furious, desperate, flickered across the feed like a ghost trapped behind glass. Tessa, I know you're in there, he shouted. I wasn't. I was 2 blocks away, sipping lukewarm tea in my new apartment, watching him from my phone. You changed the locks, he yelled. This is my home too. It wasn't. It never was. He sat outside for nearly an hour, calling, texting, crying, then raging. Finally, he left. The camera caught him kicking the welcome mat on his way out. At 9 p.m., Lydia called once more. I answered this time. I'm at my parents'. They won't talk to me. Evan's gone. My job found out. Someone sent the screenshots to HR. Was that you? No, I said, not directly. You're ruining my life. I just stopped protecting it. A pause. You were my best friend. You should have treated me like one. She started crying, then gasped. Tess, please, I love you. I closed my eyes. No, Lydia, you loved how easy I was to fool. Click. At midnight, I opened my laptop and typed the final note in my itinerary. Phase 2, complete. I read it twice, deleted the bullet point, and replaced it with a single line. Adventure, delivered. The dishwasher clicked on in the quiet, loyal as ever. Tomorrow, I thought, would bring the aftershocks. Careers, parents, public fallout, maybe even regret. But tonight, all I felt was stillness, like the second before the tide decides which way to pull. Monday morning arrived clean and sharp, the kind of light that doesn't forgive smudges. I woke in the new apartment to the hum of the refrigerator, the quiet hiss of the river traffic below, and the absence of anyone's toothbrush but mine. The first headline wasn't digital, it was gossip. Asha called around 8. Your ex-fiancé's firm is imploding, she said. Apparently he was seen leaving early Friday with a box. People talk. I'm not surprised, I said. They have a morality clause. They do, she confirmed. Someone sent HR screenshots. No one's admitting it. I didn't. Asha's tone softened. You sure you're okay? Better than okay, organized. By 9, my inbox had blossomed like mold. Press inquiries, social tags, messages from mutual acquaintances that began with, hey, just checking in. I archived them all. I didn't owe anyone my version. I'd already written it in the language they understood. Screenshots, contracts, envelopes. At 10, Marin texted, LLC dissolution uncontested. Lydia's counsel submitted withdrawal. Translation. Lydia had signed quietly through her lawyer. The rentals would be sold, the proceeds split clean, down the middle, and our names unlinked forever. By noon, Caleb finally called again. You got me fired, he said flatly. You got you fired, I replied. They said conduct unbecoming. They used the phrase public embarrassment. Well, I said, accuracy matters. He exhaled a shaky laugh. You think this is funny? I think this is finished. I don't even have a place to stay. You have Lydia, I said. Silence. Then, she's unhinged. She came over last night screaming about me ruining her life. Said her parents kicked her out. I told her to calm down, and she threw my phone at the wall. You two sound perfect for each other, I said. He started to protest, but I ended the call. At 1, a new notification pinged. Not from them, but from Patricia, his mother. Her comment was sitting under one of Lydia's old Instagram posts. Maybe focus less on coffee and more on keeping your legs closed. I didn't write it, but it was better than anything I could have drafted. Within an hour, the post had exploded. Lydia tried to edit the caption to something about privacy and growth. Then, Caleb's sister Megan, who had received my email earlier, uploaded her own story. When your brother's fiancé ruins her own wedding and still plays victim. Wild times. The circle completed itself. That afternoon, Lydia's company, a boutique PR firm specializing in women-led authenticity campaigns, posted a statement about values and integrity. She was no longer featured on their team page by sunset. I didn't rejoice. I logged out. Consequences don't need applause, they only need gravity. The next day, Caleb showed up at my old condo again, this time with a police escort. This is my residence, he told the officer. She illegally changed the locks. The officer turned to me. Ma'am, is his name on the deed or lease? I handed over the documents. No, purchased before we met. He was a guest. Caleb's voice sharpened. We were engaged. The officer nodded politely. Engagement doesn't grant tenancy. If his belongings are inside, he can arrange a pickup with you present. Otherwise, he needs to leave. Caleb's jaw worked. You can't just erase me, Tess. I'm not erasing you, I said. I'm removing clutter. He stepped forward. The officer put a hand out. Sir, let's not escalate. Caleb backed off. His eyes were red, half fury, half panic. You've destroyed everything, he said. No, I said quietly. I just stopped pretending it wasn't already destroyed. He left. The officer nodded to me like someone closing a file and followed. 10 minutes later, my phone vibrated again. This time it was Evan, Lydia's ex-boyfriend. "I thought you should know," he said. "She tried showing up at my apartment last night. I called security." "I'm sorry," I said. "Don't be. You did me a favor." She admitted everything. "I sent her home with her suitcase and a Bible from the lobby table." "Poetic." He laughed. "For what it's worth, I think you handled this with class." "I sent SD warnings, Evan. That's more class than I would have had." When I hung up, I realized my hands weren't shaking anymore. The adrenaline had burned itself out. What replaced it was strange. Neither triumph nor peace. Just space. The kind that feels both too quiet and exactly right. That evening, I poured wine into a real glass, not the travel mug I'd used for days, and scrolled through the flood of posts. Lydia's followers were turning on her, half pity, half performance. "Girl, you deserve better," followed by, "Wait, is this about Tessa's wedding?" The story was mutating faster than anyone could control. Screenshots leaked to wedding-shaming forums. My inbox filled with strangers calling me the spreadsheet queen. I shut my laptop. None of them knew the sound of the dishwasher at 12:01 a.m. or the hum of betrayal in your own walls. Let them have their theater. I'd already closed mine. At dawn, Marin called. "Quick update," she said. "Lydia's firm sent a cease and desist threat about defamation. It's empty. Truth is absolute defense, and you shared nothing beyond verified correspondence." "Understood." "And Caleb's counsel just filed withdrawal. He's on his own." "Perfect," I said. Marin paused. "You're very calm." "I had practice." She chuckled softly. "Enjoy your peace, Tessa. It's expensive real estate." After the call, I opened my curtains. Outside, the river was a sheet of pewter, slow and wide. A barge passed, indifferent. I thought about what my father used to say when he refinished furniture. You can't rush the drying. By midweek, the headlines had shrunk to whispers, replaced by fresher scandals. Lydia's last post disappeared. Caleb's firm scrubbed his profile. The world moves on fast, faster than guilt, faster than grief. But the quiet that settled over me wasn't the peace of forgetting. It was the steadiness of knowing I'd done the math, carried the one, and come out even. That Friday, my sister texted me a meme. "Revenge served room temperature. Best for digestion." I replied with a single emoji. Outside, the sun dropped behind the skyline. Inside, my new apartment exhaled softly, a place finally mine. The keys gleamed on the counter. 2, not 3. Enough. Tomorrow I'd start unpacking. Tomorrow the world could keep spinning without me explaining a thing. By Monday, the real fallout began. The kind that doesn't scream, it seeps. Caleb's firm officially let him go. The email made its way around finance circles before lunch. Termination due to conduct reflecting poorly on the institution. In investment banking, reputation is a currency that doesn't reprint once burned. He texted at 2:03 p.m. "Hope you're happy. You ruined my life." "Not everything," I wrote back. "You still have Lydia. She's gone." "Then I guess you broke even." He didn't reply. By Tuesday, Lydia's company restructured her position. She went from creative director and brand face to back office admin. No public appearances, no client accounts, just spreadsheets and silence. A poetic demotion. That evening she called. "They took my projects," she said. Her voice sounded hollow, like she was calling from inside a closet. "Actions have consequences," I said. "You think you're perfect? You weaponized everything." "No," I said. "I documented it." She breathed sharply. "You're cruel." "I'm consistent." The line went dead. Wednesday, the wedding vendors began calling. The balances Caleb's family had agreed to cover still stood, and they weren't paying. The florist, the photographer, the band, each politely reminding me that while the event was canceled, the contracts remained binding. I forwarded the invoices to Caleb. He replied once, "You can't expect me to pay when my own parents won't." "You should have thought about that before inviting Lydia into our budget," I wrote. He didn't answer. That night, I poured myself a glass of wine and went through my own receipts. My portion was paid. My cancellation fees cleared. I was solvent in every sense that mattered. The next morning, the movers delivered my remaining boxes from storage, clothing, paperwork, a few framed photos. The last box contained the wedding dress. It wasn't white. I'd chosen silver gray silk because I never liked the idea of pretending purity. I unzipped the garment bag. The fabric glimmered under the kitchen light, soft and weightless. I folded it carefully, slid it into a storage bin, labeled it proof of concept, and pushed it under the bed. At noon, a knock on my door. My sister Megan holding takeout and a grin. "You're officially a local legend," she said. "Someone on Reddit called you the woman who turned revenge into an Excel formula." I rolled my eyes. "That's horrifying." "Also accurate," she said. She unpacked containers, curry, rice, naan. "Eat. You look like you've been running on spite and caffeine." "I have," I said. "Balanced macros." We ate in comfortable silence until Megan set her fork down. "You know they're both blaming each other, right?" "Of course." "She says you hacked her phone. He says you're vindictive." "Both true," I said, "just not illegal." Megan studied me. "Do you feel bad?" I thought about it. "I feel finished." She nodded. "That's rarer." Later, after she left, I opened my laptop and reread the long email Caleb had sent that morning. "You're destroying me financially. My credit's tanking because of cancellation fees. My mother won't speak to me. Lydia's parents called me a homewrecker. You could have just broken up with me. Why this?" I typed back, "Because you didn't just cheat. You conspired. You used my loyalty like currency. I'm just correcting the ledger. I didn't send it. Some messages are better left in drafts, like ghosts waiting for absolution." That weekend, my father called. "You all right, kiddo?" "I'm fine." "Good. I told your mother you'd handle it. Always were the one with the long fuse and the sharp scissors." I didn't mean to cut so deep. He chuckled. "People bleed according to what they hid. You just gave light." On Sunday morning, I went for a walk by the river. The air smelled of metal and early rain. A small market was setting up. Flowers, bread, a violinist tuning nearby. For the first time in weeks, my body felt heavy in a normal way, not in the weight of secrets way. Halfway across the pedestrian bridge, my phone buzzed again. "Unknown number," I answered. "Hi," Caleb said. "It's me." "New phone?" "New life, apparently. I'm leaving the city. Got a job at my uncle's insurance firm in Ohio." "Lower risk profile," I said. He tried to laugh. "You really don't hate me?" "I don't have room to," I said. "Hate takes upkeep." He hesitated. "Lydia and I tried to make it work. Lasted a week. She threw my Xbox out the window." "Some stories repeat themselves," I said. "Goodbye, Tess." "Goodbye, Caleb." He hung up. That night, I received one more email from Lydia. "I know you won't respond. I just wanted you to know I lost everything. My job, my friends, my parents. I moved into a shared flat with 3 roommates. I keep thinking about what you said, about loving how easy you were to fool. You were right. I wanted excitement. You gave me truth, and truth hurts worse. I hope someday you forgive me. I wouldn't, but I hope you do." I read it twice, archived it, and closed the laptop. Outside, thunder rolled, slow, patient, inevitable. Inside, the lights flickered once, then steadied. The storm could take the night if it wanted. I'd already taken back the morning. When I went to bed, the apartment was still humming, safe, unspectacular, mine. Tomorrow would come with its usual alarms and bills and off-peak dishwashers. The kind of life people call boring. The kind of life that doesn't fall apart when someone else touches it. And I realized that was the real adventure. Surviving your own ending without needing applause. 3 months later, the noise had thinned to a hum. The city moved on, as cities do, swallowing the scandal and digesting it into rumor. Caleb was gone. Ohio. As promised. Someone sent me a photo from LinkedIn. Him in a too large suit, standing beside his father's insurance banner, expression carefully neutral. I stared at it long enough to feel nothing, then closed the tab. Lydia lasted 2 months at her restructured job before they let her go. Restructuring, again. She tried to launch a freelance marketing brand but couldn't shake the search results. Her once curated Instagram, the account with 12,000 followers and daily affirmations, vanished one night. Deleted, wiped, as if shame were a privacy setting. Her parents stopped paying her rent. Her new roommates posted passive-aggressive stories about people who steal food and cry in the kitchen. Megan sent me screenshots. I didn't comment. The wedding vendors pursued her for the remaining balances. I heard through Diana that Lydia took on small design gigs, sending invoices titled Adventure Studio, before closing the account entirely. As for me, I worked, quietly, took on 2 new clients, doubled my savings, moved my routine 1 block closer to the river. I joined a local running group. The mornings felt cleaner. The dishwasher still clicked at 12:01 a.m. sharp. Sometimes people from that old circle still recognize me. In elevators, at conferences, they'd whisper, "You're the one, right? The wedding thing?" I'd smile politely and say, "That was a long time ago." because it was. In miles, not days. One Saturday, while grabbing coffee, I saw her. Lydia. She was in pale blue scrubs, hair pulled into a rough knot, eyes ringed dark from sleep. A dental office logo sat over her heart. She looked smaller. When she spotted me, she froze. The mug in her hand trembled. I could have turned, could have walked out. Instead, I nodded. Once, quiet. She hesitated, half a step forward, then stopped. Her lips parted, but no words came. I watched her chest rise, then fall. She nodded back, set her cup down untouched, and left. When the door swung shut behind her, the bell made the same sound it always did, indifferent. That night, my sister called. She cried for 3 hours after seeing you, Megan said softly. Dad says maybe that's what remorse looks like. Or just memory, I said. Megan sighed. You ever think about forgiving her? I looked out at the river. The water was moving, dark and deliberate. Forgiveness isn't something I give, I said. It's something I stopped needing. There was a pause. You sound like you've been through therapy. I have a budget app, I said. She laughed. You would turn emotional healing into a spreadsheet. We said goodnight. Weeks later, a message came from Diana, the planner. Thinking of you today. It would have been your anniversary. I looked at the calendar. She was right. November 12th, the date engraved on favors that never shipped. I deleted the reminder I didn't know still existed. That evening, I met Adam, the accountant from my building, for dinner. We'd started seeing each other slowly, the way good things begin when you're no longer auditioning for disaster. He was steady, kind, unglamorous. He asked about my week, listened, didn't flinch at silences. After dessert, he smiled. You're the most organized person I've ever met. You probably schedule your heartbreaks. I reschedule them, I said. We laughed. It was quiet, ordinary, real. Later, at home, I thought about how the story began. A Tuesday conversation in a kitchen, a man wanting adventure, and a woman learning what that word really costs. Adventure, I'd decided, wasn't chaos or lust or risk. It was standing still after the storm and realizing you built the house right this time. As I rinsed my glass and turned off the light, the dishwasher clicked to life at 12:01 a.m. A soft hum filled the room. Faithful, familiar, alive. No applause, no audience, just competence. And the kind of calm that never needed to be exciting to be good.